Monday morning. It's McCollum on Business. I'm Stephen McCollum, and for the next 30 minutes or so, I'm going to get you updated on what's happening around the business world. And if it's your Monday mornings going like ours is around the studio, we had a monitor fall off a wall and all sorts of fun stuff happen around here. So hopefully yours is getting off better. And of course, I'm Stephen McCollum, and for the next, I already told you, see what I mean? 30 minutes from now, we're going to end this show. We're going to get you updated on the market watch, stocks we're paying attention to, local and national stories you need to know. Before I screw up this intro even more, let's get into that market watch. And on this Monday morning, Dow Jones is down 115 points right now, 52,045 for it. The S&P 500's up 20 points to 7,475 points. The NASDAQ, it's up as well, 125 points to 25,645. Then you got the Russell 2K, the small cap index, up 2 points, 29.59 for the Russell 2K here this morning. Bitcoin, well, look at this. Finding a home at the 64,000 level, 64,331. We say look at this because it's been low 60s for the last several weeks, even 59,000. Kind of touching on the 65,000. Well, starting this Monday morning, 64,325 for Bitcoin. Stocks we're paying attention to early this morning on this Monday. First one, well, we're going to look at it. It's been on the market for a little bit. SpaceX, 2.27% down here today. They announced, SpaceX did, that it's moving its launch attempt for its Starship rocket. Well, they're moving it to Thursday. The last attempt last week was aborted, issues with the engines at that time. So now, going off this Thursday, market doesn't like that news. 2.38% down here today for SpaceX. And then next up, let's talk a little food here. Ironically enough, the only food we're going to talk today, Domino's Pizza. Yep, they are on the market and doing well today, 3.10% up right now. They did report earnings and an earnings miss in the second quarter financial results. Remember, this has been the darling in this space the last couple of years compared to their counterparts like Pizza Hut, Papa John's, for instance. Well, earnings missed here for them. Domino's reported slightly better than expected revenue. The CEO of the company had meaningful order count growth in both its delivery and takeout business, but revenue was a disappointment. So Domino's, even with that, Domino's is up 3.41% here on this Monday. And then finally, an energy infrastructure company called Hut 8 Corp. They are up today big, 13.75%. They signed a 15-year lease with an existing customer, fully commercializing its 1 gigawatt Beacon Point data center. This is the one that's over in Texas that we've talked about a lot with what they designed there. The agreement, well, it totals $9.8 billion on top of it. So big money, big numbers, long-term lease, 13.56% up for Hut 8 Corp here on this Monday. Later on, when we come back and look at stocks, well, we're going to look at semiconductor stocks, advanced micro devices, Micron Technology, and even Intel coming our way here shortly later on in the program. And now, lots of stuff, right? The war, bombings are continuing to happen. The U.S. is taking out strategic marks there in Iran. Iran's hitting Kuwait. So lots of question marks there. We'll have a gas story for you here in just a moment. That's obviously what the market is focused on here, in terms of watching that as well. So oil is the biggest concern. Oil is wavering out there. Chip makers, as I'll show you in a little bit, are rising today as well. Stocks are basically higher, except for the Dow Jones, kind of teetering at the negative side here today. But oil is what everybody's watching with the Strait of Hormuz issue that continues out there. Iran did come out and say this morning U.S. talks could be pursued based on national interests, meaning Iran's natural interests, meaning they're losing bridges and strategic bridges and things to that effect, which gas prices have eased a little bit today as well off of that news. And let me see if I can get really quick here. Sorry for the production, but the way the day's gone, let's try it and see what happens. Oil prices are lower today, and if you've driven around all weekend, like I was floored to see 419, 425 over the weekend for gas out there as well. So the Iran all of a sudden is worried about their national interest, right? As well. There is a, by the way, just a breaking news. There is a suspect in custody after an incendiary device was set off near New York City Immigration Court. The FBI is saying that this morning as well. So just people trying to Reichel stop doing that stuff. People out there as well. International benchmark Brent crude. Um, 88.2 $88.23 per barrel this morning. Well, early in the session, it had been over $90 per barrel there. West Texas Intermediate crude, it was down 82.29, so $82.29 as well. So oil prices down with that news out there. So some good news on the market. So we'll focus on health issues. We'll talk about that in a second. But also, let's talk about things around companies here this morning on this Monday. Taylor Farms, never heard of it? Well, you've heard of it now. Yeah, they've actually expanded a voluntary recall of its iceberg lettuce. Yeah, because that is sourced from central Mexico, and that is a potential link to the multi-state cyclospora outbreak, or explosive diarrhea disease, whichever one you want to go with. And sorry if you're eating breakfast, but we all know what we're talking about here. Yeah. Now, I did see the Food and Drug Administration came out and said this is the source now. They started pulling it off the shelves and everything last week. Products with the potential to be contaminated with the parasite. They were shipped to 27 states. So over half the United States, right, as well out there. This is a California-based company, and it seems like the biggest hits were in the east, and the eastern seaboard, and the Midwest as well, like Florida, Pennsylvania, Illinois, New Jersey, Michigan. I know was a hard hit on this as well. U.S. health officials earlier last week identified lettuce was the main one, and a supplier from Mexico as the source of that cyclospora contamination in food. Now, this was food served at Taco Bell restaurants in 5 Midwestern states. The Taylor Farms recall announced listed 25 shredded lettuce and even salad mix products sold under 8 different brand codes. Taylor Farms, of course, didn't, though they don't want to talk about it, so they didn't respond to anybody that asked. The recall products were shipped as recently as Thursday. They have Best Buy dates as late as August 3rd. If you live in those I know we have a lot of Illinois people, a few Michigan people, a lot of Illinois people that watch this program. So check your Best Buy dates out there as well. Even Cisco, the nation's largest food distributor, they halted distribution of all Taylor Farm iceberg lettuce products sourced from Mexico. They've already done that before this went and started happening. When it kind of before it became public, they knew who it was and everything. So destroy those items if you have them. Iceberg lettuce from Taylor Farms, folks. Get in on that. You do not want this, from what I was reading over the weekend as well, right? So we go from that crappy story to U.S. gas prices. Yeah, they jumped an average of $4 a gallon here this morning, on average. Now, obviously, the attacks are the reason why. So AAA gives us these numbers. The national average for a gallon of regular gasoline is now back to $4. The average price a year ago, it was $3.14 a gallon. And we were moving that way, even here in Arizona and Phoenix, where we were at like 369, but we were moving that way until this latest blip back up. So it's a national average. So that means drivers in some states have been paying well over $4 a gallon for a while now. Obviously, other states will pay less. Prices vary in states, vary between states, I should say, due to factors ranging from nearby supply, tax rates, etc. out there. So, and I saw this morning, at least out by my place, $4.19 per gallon is what we were looking at out there. So I didn't look down in this or by the airport here where we are. I didn't look at those numbers here this morning, but generally it's a little bit higher, to be honest with you, out there. Here's a story, maybe a break for you. And I shop at Fry's, which is Kroger's out there. So I've noticed they have rolled back a lot of prices here recently as I've been shopping there. And if you are looking to stretch your grocery budget, well, and you shop at Walmart or anything like that, you might want to start paying attention to Kroger or Fry's, of course. Now, Kroger, excuse me, had the cheapest store brand grocery basket and a new price comparison of four major U.S. grocery chains. So, this is a study from the Restaurant Furniture Plus. They compared the cost of 15 store brand essentials at Kroger, Walmart, Aldi, and Albertsons. So, they looked at milk, bread, eggs, chicken breasts, spaghetti, canned beans, and baking items, is what they looked at. Kroger ranked number one. Total basket cost $30. They had the lowest prices on 10 of the 15 items analyzed. That was more than any other retailer in the story, the other three besides them. Walmart did come in second. Basket total $30.95. Then Aldi was $33.15. And not a shocker here, Albertson, Safeway, yeah, they're just outrageously expensive on everything they do. $35.58 for them out there as well. Now, Aldi's store brand dairy products stood out as a particularly strong value. The survey did not include the big heavyweights, right? Box stores like Costco, Trader Joe's, HEB, Piggly Wiggly, for those of you that have those in your areas. Trader Joe was excluded because it did not carry some items in the comparison, but Costco's bulk model made single item price comparisons difficult, obviously. You can't go with a dozen eggs, and you go to Costco and then all of a sudden you get 3 dozen eggs, right? So Kroger, something to pay attention to. Fries here in the valley, Kroger elsewhere, and lots of chains out there elsewhere, wherever you're watching us in the country. And then Boeing, some more good news for Boeing out there. They're going to be allowed to take responsibility for certifying all of its 737 MAX and 787 planes starting this week. This all came from the FAA. The FAA said that after months of review, the agency decided that Boeing's final safety checks on its planes, well, they're good enough to ensure that they are airworthy. Since September, Boeing and the agency had been taking weekly turns performing the safety checks that are required before aircraft are cleared for delivery and declared safe to fly. The FAA did come out on that Friday press conference. They said the plane maker and government inspectors were both issuing similar findings as they issued airworthiness certificates. If you remember, federal regulators, they took full control over the 737 MAX approvals back in 2019. That was because of those two crashes that were blamed on new software system that Boeing had developed for the aircraft. Those are the Indonesia one, I believe it was, Air India, I believe, but the two crashes on that end of the world. So FAA ended the company's right to self-certify 787 Dreamliners back in 2022, well, because of production quality issues off their line. Government inspectors, they will continue to oversee Boeing's factories, but they said they will now be able to focus more on finding and addressing potential defects earlier in the manufacturing process instead of focusing on the later stage side of it. Boeing said it would continue working to improve safety as well. We hope so, right? They have one job out there to deal with. Hey, a judge on Friday, the lawsuits are never going to end on this merger, and we'll have to see what happens with it. But a judge on Friday did decline to issue a ruling from the bench. This is all regarding California's request for a temporary restraining order around the Paramount's Skydance's planned takeover of Warner Brothers Discovery. Yeah. The states, there's 12 states suing. California's leading the charge. And they wanted a ruling from the bench to kind of put it on hold. Judge said, no, I will not be doing that. Now, this is expected to close at the third quarter of this year, but obviously these 12 states attorney generals, including Arizona, by the way, in this lawsuit, and then you got the union lawsuits now as well, and everything. So that could delay the closing process coming up. The lawsuit was filed in Northern District of California for the 12 states, claims that the merger violates Section 7 of the Clayton Act. That holds that mergers that may substantially lessen competition or tend to create a monopoly are illegal. So this hearing on Friday, it's a temporary restraining order hearing on Friday. It got deep into antitrust law. Like I was reading excerpts from it, and it's enough to put you to sleep, folks. Paramount argued that the merger would actually increase competition. The state insists that combining two major Hollywood studios would actually hurt the industry while giving too much power to the company. So the judge didn't want to do a ruling on that day and on Friday. He promised to issue a ruling by July 22nd, though. Obviously, Paramount wants this to end as quickly as possible so it can move forward as soon as possible to avoid exorbitant ticking fees, is how I'll phrase it. Right? I'm not the only one that phrases that way. It's a business term, but it's a term for charges that accrue because the merger is delayed. The longer it goes, the more they have to pay in those fees waiting to go. So there were no photos or video in that hearing. You had to read excerpts of it. They kept it kind of quiet from that side. And then over the weekend, you were probably one of the people, if you went to the movies, that saw The Odyssey. We saw it here, me and Ethan and Autumn went and saw this movie as well. Well, it launched with 124.5 estimated amount million dollars in domestic ticket sales. Then it did another 139.6 million from the overseas sales as well. This is a huge movie. A lot of people were saying it was going to bomb because of some woke stuff and things people are concerned about. None of it was prevalent, folks. You should see this movie as well. But it did have a better debut than Oppenheimer did as well. It's marking Christopher Nolan, who's the director's best opening since 2012's The Dark Knight Rises. Yeah. Now, a lot of that has to do with the IMAX price. Prices for IMAX movies are more expensive. And we saw it in a regular IMAX, not the 70 millimeter down at Arizona Mills, because that's sold out to like middle of August, I think, or something ridiculous like that. But the extended ticket prices obviously helps this movie, but just an epic. We saw it at 10 a.m. yesterday morning. Theater packed, sold out. There's like 2 seats left in the whole thing out there. So it's a huge number for this movie as well. So and it's going to get a ton of awards coming up, just like Oppenheimer did and stuff like that. The budget of this movie was $250 million. By the way, R-rated movie, and that's the thing. It's one of the most expensive R-rated movies ever made at that price tag of $250 million. Then they put another $125 million into marketing it out there. They almost made that all back in the first weekend in international and domestic ticket sales as well. So shot entirely on IMAX film and things like that. You could tell a little bit as well that you saw. So 29.6 million of that number was sold domestically on IMAX screens out there. 51.8 million of those totals were specifically for the IMAX number, which, like I said, huger dollar amount to go see an IMAX movie out there as well. So the movie is dedicated to IMAX screens for 3 full weeks. So nothing else can come in and knock it off of IMAX for 3 weeks as well out there. So, and only, I think it's 25 screens in the United States, I think I read over the weekend, can actually show it in that 70 millimeter era. And the only one here in Arizona is over at Arizona Mills IMAX, that Harkins one there as well. So if you want to see it in that format, limited choices out there as well for you. So when we come back here at McCollum on Business, huge movie weekend with The Odyssey. But we'll be back here. We'll talk some local stories coming your way. No food stories today, folks. I know we're slacking here on this Monday, but we keep it rolling. Come on back, McCollum on Business. And we're back here, McCollum All Business Monday morning. Woo, working through it all and keeping it rolling here on this Monday. Run through all the headaches and pain and get it going here on this Monday, folks out there. And as they say, of course, in the immortal movie and the greatest movie of all time, somebody's got a case of the Mondays. Yeah, school's starting. Like Chandler started last week. Queen Creek starting this week. I'm not sure who else is starting here for high school and regular schools out there. So a lot of stress getting your kids to school and everything. Like I kind of had to deal with this morning as well with one high schooler left out there. And so if you're dealing with that, if you're not, when you got another sometime, I know Gilbert's, I think next week is when that starts, the Gilbert district. So take deep breaths, parents. Time to go. And if you're too excited to get your kid out there for school, get them out of the house. I get that too out there as well. So don't forget all of our programming here on YouTube. Geesh, gotta get my brain on right here. On a YouTube, TME Media AZ is where you can find all of our programming, except for The Real Matrix. That's over at Rumble. Rumble.com/user/TME Media is where you can find The Real Matrix. New episode was out last weekend on energy. The last two episodes, the last 2 weeks, education and then energy. Interesting shows to watch, to say the least. Now, catch those on Rumble, of course, and every Friday at noon, new episodes come out for you. Of course, not just on Rumble, but also on the free podcast system is where you can listen to those shows as well. Just search The Real Matrix Angry Patriot. It pops right up on your favorite podcasting systems, Apple, Google, Spotify, iHeart, Podchaser, whichever place you listen to your podcasts at. Rumble, YouTube as well. And as soon as we get done here, of course, we're live on YouTube every morning at 7 a.m. Join us live. Join the chat if you'd like. And if not, well, just watch us. If you can't watch us because you're getting ready for work, you're driving to work, and you can't listen to us, well, catch us on demand later in the day. It goes up on demand as soon as we're done here on YouTube. Takes 20 minutes or so to get put up onto YouTube, or 30 minutes, depending on it. And then we go live right into the main event, 8 to 10 a.m. Well, we have I guess we could say a part-timer might be back today. We'll see if Dale Hellestrade returns here at 8 o'clock. Of course, catch us live here on YouTube at TME Media. As soon as we're done with that at 10 o'clock, we put it up on YouTube as well as on Rumble. Free podcast system for all of our shows, including the Pit Stop. Only one that doesn't have the podcast system is this one out there as well. So Ann says, school starts next week. They're Gilbert School District, I do believe Ann's in. And she said, but how to take my son to football. Oh, that's right. Got to get him there early for the football season, of course, here early on this Monday. So a lot of stress out there, changing your morning routines. With all that being said, let's get right back into that Market Watch. We told you earlier, market, well, it's doing decent today. Oil prices are dipping down a little bit, 2% or so on average is what we'll call it here. Here at 7:30 this morning, Dow Jones, it's at 173 points down for it. It is interesting where we stand at on the market with oil prices and the festivities that are happening out there in the Middle East, right? Dow's down 174 points. S&P 500's up to 21. NASDAQ's up 143 points. Chip makers are up, and we're going to look at those individual stocks in just a moment. Here, Russell 2K, the small cap index, is up. Well, it's basically even here, 0.30 up for it. Right now, Bitcoin, well, it's down 328 today, but kind of found this little snuggle home at 64,357 for Bitcoin here today. Oil prices are still down as well. AMD came out and announced Helios. They launched Helios, I should say. Now it's first rack AI system to rival NVIDIA chips out there. Microsoft is a buyer of these Helios stock, which is why we're looking at Advanced Micro Devices here this morning. 2.79% up here today as well, based off of that news. Bunch of companies. Last week was a tough week, by the way, for semiconductors and these chip stocks. 10% down, and basically overall last week, if you want to average it out, 10% for all of these stocks. So starting Monday up 2.49%. Micron Technologies, the next one we're going to look at here, 2.12% up for them. Marvel Technology, I don't have a graph for, but they're up about 2% today as well. And then there's Intel, of course, big local presence here. Well, it's up today as well, 2.61% as we look at that here for Intel. So chip stocks up today. AMD launching this new Helios, which supposedly rivals an AI chip from NVIDIA. Microsoft, they announced Microsoft is a buyer of that chip. So look at some big movements in the chip side of things here on this Monday. Now, a few local stories for you. And like I said, I apologize. No food stories for you today. We had so many issues getting ready for this show internally with a monitor literally fell off of a wall. Computer, so we have to adjust the computer systems, the monitors for the production guys. Ethan and Kobe doing a fantastic job. I wasn't able to find a food story, but I can tell you, Gilbert. Yeah, it's the next Arizona community reopening its zoning codes to address concerns around data center developments. We know Tucson is, deciding on new rules after that big issue they had last year down there. Florence is expecting to form an expert committee to promote development guidelines as well. We know Chandler, had a rejected one earlier or late last year as well. But Phoenix, Mesa, Chandler has a few, but out in the kind of the desert area of it as well. Well, they went through these similar processes last year as well. So Gilbert, they only have one data center. It has not received any new requests to build any there as well. But a statement was put out by the town of Gilbert, and it says it recognizes the need for data centers in an ever growing digital world, but it doesn't want them to have a negative impact on local water supplies, considering current shortages of the Colorado River. And Gilbert, don't forget, I find this interesting because don't forget Gilbert. They've raised their water rates several 100% on their residents over the last year or so, year and a half or so. So they're already having water issues there in Gilbert as well. If you want to look at the proposed rules around this, restrictions on where developers can actually build the data centers in Gilbert, and an open loop cooling systems, which basically are the ones where water flows over to keep everything cool. Requires a lot of water. They're going to kind of restrict that. At least the proposal is to restrict that. If you're in the Gilbert area and you're interested in this, a public hearing on the zoning code amendment, well, August 5th is when that'll happen as well. Then it'll go to the council for consideration on September 1st coming up. So if you're interested in voicing your opinion, August 5th is when you can do that, folks out there. And we know Arizona utilities, SRP, APS, Tucson Electric, for instance, well, they're facing huge energy demand out there. A lot of it's driven by the data centers, large industrial users that are moving into the valley and opening up here as well. So now they're saying the new issue is not just getting and supplying, but can we build things quick enough, right? Supply chain issues are the biggest concern now. Yeah, projects are being pushed back because of the supply chain issues. So this was all highlighted at a workshop, and we get this story from KJAZ, by the way. There was a workshop at the state's utility regulating body, the Arizona Corporation Commission. Yes. So there, I got a gentleman named Matthew Robinson, according to KJAZ. He supervises transmission planning with APS. He presented the utility's 10-year plan to the Arizona Corporation Commission. Here's what he said in that meeting. Some of the drivers for the date changes, well, they've been those types of supply chain delays. We're seeing significant supply chain lead time for large equipment like transformers, things you need to generate electricity. It's going to cause price increases. And APS's new excuse on why they need to pass through a 14% increase every year or more every year. Yeah. Robertson did say those wait times to get these supply chain stuff in, 3 to 4 years is what he's saying as well. Yeah. Of course, they said COVID-19 started the supply chain slowdown, and then the unprecedented demand afterwards just has never caught up as well. So Robinson did say in that meeting as well that APS is committed to finishing projects that it's agreed to. Yeah. By the way, an SRP representative told commissioners that it also had to change business practices to account for those supply chain delays. So now it's all this excuses for these big increases, like the 14% one APS wants. Yeah, not getting these parts in quick enough, putting stress on the grid and everything. But go ahead, keep building data centers that cause more thing. So us residents can keep having our electric bills go through the roof. That sounds like a plan, doesn't it? We talked about Boeing earlier and being able to certify its 737 and 787 planes by themselves again. Well, now we know Boeing is proposing an expansion of its Mesa manufacturing campus, and this could create hundreds of new jobs and boost production of advanced composite components for U.S. military aircraft. If you remember, now they build the helicopters out there, Boeing does in Mesa. So they plan to build a nearly 268,000 square foot fabrication center, basically on a 38-acre industrial site. And according to KJAZ, I believe the Arizona Business Journal is where this one is, according to them. Northeast corner of Greenfield and McDowell Roads is where they're looking to build that. Boeing's proposed fabrication center will be built adjacent to their existing 158,000 square foot manufacturing plant there on the Mesa campus. And they said that this fabrication site will be used, quote, for fabrication of highly specialized carbon military parts. Ooh, sounds top secret. This fabrication center is expected to employ 260 workers across 2 shifts. The company's existing manufacturing facility employs about 240 people, so doubling the amount of workers that Boeing will have in Mesa. They go and build this fabrication plant out there as well. So, folks, I appreciate you joining us. I know we are up a little bit late today, and I apologize for that. Ethan says, school starts next month for me. Yeah, colleges always start a little bit later. End of August for him there. So take deep breaths, parents. Get your kids to school or enjoy your last week or so of vacation as well before it gets started and everything. And we'll see you tomorrow, folks. 7 a.m. live here at YouTube, PME Media AZ. And then, of course, we're going to roll right into the main event, 8 to 10 a.m. We'll see if the part-timer, Dale Hellestrade, does show up today after his multiple. Seems like he's gone on vacation every week this summer. We'll have to take a look at that. Come on back, for lots of talked about there on the sports world as well. Live 8 to 10 if you can't watch it live. Catch us on demand as well. We'll see you over there, folks. Have a great Monday.